So this is part B of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo. Baby Angel Geronimo is the world's bestest, most authentic, transparent, sincere, truthful, healthiest Baby Angel Geronimo in the whole world. Baby Angel Geronimo was born and lovingly brought up by a woman called Leonie Walker in New Zealand. And Baby Angel Geronimo was later invited by a woman living in South Gloucestershire in England, United Kingdom, to come and be with her and her rest of her family of alpacas. Baby Angel Geronimo has witnessed the real empirical evidence of the corruption that dominates the English judiciary, the corruption that dominates the English-led, English-controlled bureaucracy in the United Kingdom government and in the United Kingdom Parliament, Houses of Parliament. Baby Angel Geronimo is a representative, the authentic representative of the claim, evidential claim, that contrary to the image suggested by the claim often made that Britain or England or UK is a country of animal lovers, there is no truth in this generic claim. If the behavior of the UK government, behavior of the UK Parliament, the behavior of the incumbent in the post of Prime Minister, the congenital liar Boris Johnson at the time, are taken into account, if the behavior of the criminals sitting as judges in the High Court in London is the behavior considered factually, objectively, truthfully, then there is no truth in the concept, in the claim, in the slogan that there is a thing called English standard of justice or British standard of justice. There is none whatsoever. Baby Angel Geronimo has been, since he arrived in the United Kingdom at the invitation of Helen Macdonald, the subject of demonization, defamation, distortion, lies, inventions. All of these have been refuted by the facts and the evidence. But the facts and the evidence that have refuted the lies have been denied judicial, formal, official judicial recognition. And those who have denied the recognition, have of course included judges sitting in the divisional court in the London High Court, in the building complex called the Royal Courts of Justice in the Strand. Two of the judges, both of them white, both of them male. One is Griffiths, the latest one, and the one before him, Murray. There is a woman whose name we shall come to add in a second. And the language, the tone used by the so called Free Street newspapers, the print outlets, are corrupt to the core, complicit to the core, criminality, evilness that dominate the judicial bureaucracy. Because of all of this, Baby Angel Geronimo is the banner that contains acute and accurate representation of the key aspects of the misrepresentation of the claim assertion slogan of British justice. There is no such thing as British justice, as there is no such thing as British policing, as there is no such thing as British democracy, as there is no such thing as British fairness. If these concepts and phrases and slogans are to be tested against of those holding positions of power at central government, regional government, central parliament, local councils, and so on. The behavior of the local councils in Gloucestershire, South Gloucestershire, shows that the individuals controlling the county council, Gloucestershire County Council, could not care less about the the call for justice and call for just treatment of the applications made on behalf of Baby Angel Geronimo by his mum, Helen MacDonald. That is why the Angel Geronimo is the banner. We shall be updating in due course, of course. One of the things that we can use or refer to is the horse filmed being beaten. So, this item on Friday on the Online Guardian has this piece about this 39-year-old woman called Sarah Moulds, Moulds Moulds. And it is a piece to someone called Jessica Murray, Midlands correspondent. and it's posted online at 14:35 GMT, which is 15:35 British Standard Time, on Friday, the 25th of August 2023. And the Guardian, the Sarah Jessica Murray, says that this woman, Sarah Moore, says she received death threats and family went into hiding after video went viral. And then the whole piece is about the woman. Says a teacher who lost her job after she was filmed kicking and striking a horse has been cleared of animal cruelty. Sarah Moores, 39, was found not guilty of causing unnecessary suffering. So, what she was guilty of was, of course, causing necessary suffering. What the fuck? How can suffering be necessary? And this is all about Moores and friends weeping after she was cleared. And the point about baby angel Geronimo is that there is no justice for the horse there. The culture of the judiciary, replicated by the jurors and whatever instructions or direction the court judge or judicial members gave them, favors those who treat animals with cruelty. We shall talk about that in due course more. Now, about this RSPCA and the Animal Welfare Act 2006 is totally inadequate. Both the act itself and also the actual constitution and the duties of the RSPCA. RSPCA itself is guilty of cruelty to animals. Again, we shall update on those. Not only RSPCA, but other so called registered charities allegedly in existence for promoting welfare of animals are guilty of cruelty to animals. So, baby angel Geronimo is the symbol because even in their coverage of the various apparently compassionate aspects about the reasons for the claim against the DEFRA by Helen MacDonald, in the coverage, the papers, the news outlets kind of contradicted themselves and did not come anywhere near reporting the truth of the situation in the United Kingdom as far as the UK's duties to protect animals, safeguard animals, respect animals are concerned. And everything that has happened in the courts over the behavior of the three judges sitting separately and acting as stooges for the rubber stamps for the Department for the Environment. Everything about their wording, their attitude, outlook shows more than can be described as being sympathetic to the crooks at the DEFRA and the sympathetic to the idea that animals can be treated cruelly. There is no in real cruelty and suffering. How is that justifiable? Baby angel Geronimo, when he was born in New Zealand, was raised by an impeccably caring and dedicated mum, Leonie Walker, who found baby angel Geronimo, as she found other alpacas that she raised, with particular notable characteristics. And she told the Times in August 2021, I think, from New Zealand, that she found Geronimo, baby angel Geronimo, to be mischievous. It's a description of a child, mischievous, cheerful, fun-loving, and playful. The description of an animal like the dolphins. Description of an animal like a playful kitten. We shall be talking about all of the others, but essentially, baby angel Geronimo is the barometer, is the indicator of the state of cruelty to animals that exists in the United Kingdom with the collision. I only knew that my observation of Vivienne Westwood in the Altavali Park showed that she was a creepy, corrupt, egotistic, disrespectful, ignorant, racist cunt. We shall be talking about Vivienne Westwood in due course more. The fact that Ken Lying Still Livingstone decided to bring Vivienne Westwood, Bruce Kent, and the late Tony Benn to that location, the Altavali Park, where there was supposed to be a rally in support of the candidature for election to the mayor of London of Ken Lying Still Livingstone, showed that Ken Lying Still Livingstone was as corrupt, as ignorant, as racist, as idiotic, as disrespectful as, say, for example, the current deputy chair of the racist Conservative Party, the fascist Leanderthal, as the private eye calls him. So when Ken Livingston Livingstone was being given promotions by the Ken to the Rifra Valley and to the Indian Gujarati criminal Patel. The Gujarati criminal Patel do to marry or have any partner. What was his name? C.B. Patel? What is C.B. Patel? C.B. Patel from India. C.B. Patel is from India, but Indian origin. He comes from East Africa. Now look at the fucking promotion for this criminal. And this shitbag, C.B. Patel, was recipient of undisclosed sums of money given to him by the criminal Ken Lying Still Livingstone. Now, C.B. the crook Patel, his full name is Chandrakant Babubai Patel. C.B. Chandrakant is C and B for Babubai Patel. This shitbag was one of the recipients of millions of pounds altogether paid to them by the criminal Ken Lying Still Livingstone, not for telling the truth, not for serving the community, but for serving the egos of Ken Lying Still Livingstone and promoting his image as the leader of the people of the world. And this item the Indian diaspora community in the UK. Fuck him. It says thanks in large part to his role as the founder and editor of Asian Voice and Gujarat Samachar, two respected news. Fuck off. When the criminal got the services of this English woman called Anne Hughes. It was Anne Hughes who wrote all this stuff in the English language, and it was Anne Hughes who actually dedicated the best of her talents and abilities to creating this criminal CB Crook Patel. And Crook Patel then got money from the GLC, and as did Rifraf Ali. Rifraf Ali got the money to fund the promotion of Ken Livingstone via the title called the Caribbean Times. Now, if you look at the actual activities of the demography that can be factually described as Caribbean in the United Kingdom, in the context of United Kingdom life, United Kingdom society, you will find that there is nothing. There is absolutely nothing that the Caribbean community in the United Kingdom has done to defend the victims of racism, either with the Caribbean backgrounds or from the African background directly. Because although it is called Caribbean, a significant number of people in the United Kingdom, in the demography that can be called of African descent, are in fact directly arrived from various African countries, not through the Caribbean. And any study of the so called journalism of the Caribbean origin or African origin individuals or communities will produce a zero result in terms of contact, in terms of substance, in terms of engagement with the real day-to-day issues of the people of the Caribbean or of African origins. So what Rifra Valley was doing promoting the ambition of Ken Livingston Livingstone, who in the 1980s, as he was engaged in a bogus confrontation with Margaret Thatcher, to become politically more influential in the Labour Party than he was at that time. And he couldn't care less about the millions of pounds that he was spending that did not belong to him, nor did it get distributed to people who needed the money. Thousands of evictions were taking place due to poverty, and a significant number of the people being evicted were being evicted on rent arrears. And a very significant number of those people were from the Caribbean backgrounds. So it's just housing, let's say, but in other aspects as well, similar misrepresentation or lack of representation was happening. And the fact that Ken Livingstone was paying Rifraf Ali these millions or the Crook Patel these millions wasn't altogether unknown to other people politically active. But those people who knew about this decided to ignore this because they considered risking. It would be a risk to their own little careers to raise concerns about the abuse of funds, abuse of GLC's resources. We shall be updating on the GLC's resources being abused in due course, of course. Now, the piece in the Times The piece in the Times magazine is a piece promoting Rory Stewart. Now, Rory Stewart is described in that piece as living in Amman, the capital of Jordan, and he is described in the description, that is, not in the actual words that can be attributed to Rory Stewart himself, as being Alexander the Great and everything else that is great. Now, Rory Stewart was a spy. When the Afghans were attacked by George W. Bush and Tony Blair in 2001, sorry, they deployed a number of spies, operatives. And Rory Stewart was one of the spies that became deployed in due course. And in the description that the Times magazine carries today, Saturday, the 26th of August 2023, Rory Stewart is coming across as a much bigger figure in the fiction than he is in real life. Just before the COVID-19 hit United Kingdom, I observed Rory Stewart at a gathering held in the Oxford House in Derbyshire Court off the Bethnal Green Road. And when I asked him what he knew about the Bara of Hamlers, his answer was a blank. And when I said, "Did he know who I was?" And he said he didn't. I said, if he didn't know me in Tower Hamlets and he had the gall and the audacity to come and spread his message in Tower Hamlets, how dare he? Rory Stewart, of course, tactically, he doesn't confront, doesn't give answers. So he walked past, straight past. But I haven't forgotten the fact that he did that. And I believe that Rory Stewart is too slippery a customer. Why? Because Janice, the writer of this piece in the Times magazine, says that he has got a partnership, very successful partnership on a podcast with Alistair Campbell. Now, Alistair Campbell is the propagandist. If Tony Blair was the Hitler, then Alistair Campbell was Hitler's propagandist against the people of Afghanistan, against the people of Iraq, and against generally the Muslim world. So, in order to get hold of this article, I had to travel across London more than once because the copy of the Times newspaper that I bought, assuming that the article they had on the trailed on the page one about Rory Stewart would be inside. On arrival at my location, I examined and I found that the magazine wasn't there. And as I said in the broadcast item as part A, I was looking at the other parts of the magazine, of the Times newspaper, and there was no sign of the interview that they said contained Rory Stewart's words. Now, if you multiply that, that is 1 hour Rory Stewart says. So if you multiply that into the numbers of items, factual items, that I have to check the veracity of every single time that I actually make a comment on. Then you can see that it will be no less than 1,000 items every single week. Now, it is not possible physically to give an actual amount of hours needed to examine that much materials, evidence, and scrutinize. So you multiply that over the decades that I've been doing it on a daily basis. What does it amount? What does it amount to in terms of work, in terms of the analysis of the facts and the familiarity with the facts and the verifying of the facts? That is the sample of the work, fact checking work that I've been doing since the 1950s, late 1950s. Because I started in the middle of 1950s, and this was the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020. So this is more than 6 decades plus into the seventh decade. In order to be able to make the factual comment, truthful comment, verified, verifiable comment, this is the amount of work that is needed. So when baby angel Geronimo was being made the subject of vilification, the amount of veracity and truthfulness that would be necessary to be applied before one judge or one lawyer for the DEFRA could dare make a declaration against the state of health of baby angel Geronimo would have been necessary to that standard that I maintain and I am able to maintain and assert. They did not apply any verifiable veracity standard or evidence. They just said, the judge, like Griffiths said, he said in effect, and I'm paraphrasing of course, that regardless of the statute about facts and evidence, the Secretary of State is, and here comes the killer, literally the killer phrase, entitled. The Secretary of State is entitled to dismiss, disregard the evidence of the matter. That sums up. That statement by Griffiths sums up the criminal essence of English law, English court system, English judiciary. Now go back 7 decades and go back into the early 1960s when Tom Denning, who later became the master of rolls, Tom Denning was appointed to investigate the Profumo scandal. John Profumo, the defense secretary, conservative, had to be, well, he resigned when his sexual activities, extramarital, adulterous sexual activities with Mandy Rice Davies and Christine Keeler became public. Anyone who has seen pictures of Christine Keeler taken during the heydays of her connections with John Profumo would notice one or two particular pictures that would beat any competition in terms of sexual allure at any time, in any country, at any context. So John Profumo was smitten by Christian Keeler, whose alluring pictures were more evident than those of Mandy Rice Davis, her close friend. So when Tom Denning was appointed as the chair or the leader of the inquiry into the Profumo scandal, Denning became a kind of celebrity in the 1960s. And he, in fact, Denning, in fact, visited what was then East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, in the early 1960s. And I was, of course, buying news magazines and newspapers at that early stage. And one weekly magazine that I would buy in a country that didn't have English as the main language, but this one was an English language magazine with particular focus on criminality or criminology, was called The Detective. The Detective had an exclusive series of articles about Tom Denning, Christian Keeler, and others. So I absorbed all the information. And when I finally met Tom Denning shortly after his retirement in 1980, I stood on the line to buy a copy of the signed copy of his autobiography, The Discipline of Law, being held at a bookshop in Chancery Lane, well, corner of Chancery Lane and Fleet Street. And as it was customary, Denning shook my hand, as he must have done other people. And he asked me where I was from originally. And I told him that I was from Bangladesh. And as a show of this man's intellectual alertness, he immediately corrected the phrase and said, East Pakistan. Why East Pakistan? Because he had been physically a guest of various organizations in East Pakistan at the time. When he was visiting East Pakistan, I was reading about his visit at the time as it was happening. So it was purely intellectually a confirmation of the man's alertness that he immediately corrected Bangladesh and said East Pakistan. Now, when he published his report about the Profumo scandal or the Christian Keeler scandal, Tom Denning, despite his intellectual brightness, turned out to be dishonest because he knew facts and the evidence that government was corrupt, that the government was concealing the evidence on the facts and the truth, and yet he didn't recommend any serious action against the wrongdoing parts of the government. And let me say that I hardly have said anything similarly approving of the intellectual kind of strength and clarity of an individual, whether they're a member of judiciary or not, as I have done about Tom Denning. And to find that Tom Denning has had a history of complicity with corrupt government in the United Kingdom shows that despite his intellectual alertness, he too was corrupt. All the dicta the comments in passing that judges make in the course of a judicial announcement, all the dicta that Denning actually uttered, if you look at the actual contents of the dicta and the actual line that they together kind of constitute, then you can find that Tom Denning was a right wing, reactionary, racist. And the fact that he was so must be seen in the context of the undeniable fact that he was of the highest profile as a judge. So when Baby Angel Geronimo was being discussed by lesser judges like Griffiths and Murray, etc., what were they expected to do? They were not expected to exceed the moral excellence of Tom Denning. Most certainly not. So they adhere to the lowest common denominator and they sucked up to the referral liars and criminals and demonizers. So the baby angel Geronimo has been a witness to all of that. And we are all the way with baby angel Geronimo. And we shall be continuing to update on every aspect as and when necessary. This woman who attacked the horse and was allowed to get away has not been the beneficiary of an accidental decision by the jurors. She has been the beneficiary of a corrupt culture that dominates the judicial environment. These jurors must have been given the instruction, direction by the judge, or then if there were more than one judge in the case, that effectively encourage them to find this horse beating woman free, innocent, which is what they did. Take the narrative back to the American actor Stacy the homosexual, who was recently found not to have been guilty. There is a kind of secret line underlying the various trials. Now, remember that trial that Peter Cook, who was in his time a prominent funder of the Private Eye magazine, the caricature of the judge that tried or sat or presided over the so called trial of Jeremy Thorpe. The satire that Peter Cook produced of that trial. Let's see if we can find it. Now, this is called this video. So this one is 7 minutes and 7 minutes and 32 seconds, and we start with hearing Peter Cook addressing the ladies and gentlemen. So that is the kind of, it is satirical kind of expression, but this is effectively what happens. The biased judge, the biased judge or the biased judges direct the jurors to find the guilty not guilty. And this kind of directions are adhered to by the judges, by the jurors, who are brainwashed, ignorant, and lack the courage and the conviction of finding the guilty guilty. When the horse was filmed being beaten up by this woman, the film so outraged so many people that this perpetrator was correctly of the view that her safety was at risk. People were so outraged by her behavior. And yet, the jurors, how could they convict this individual when thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people were outraged to the point where this woman felt that she was not safe in her own home? How did the jurors consider the same video evidence as being not sufficient proof that she was well and she hurt the horse? That's the difference. That is the difference between the judicial system and real life. So we shall be updating on all of these in due course, and we shall be making references to the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases that take place every single day across the United Kingdom of people being cruel to animals, hurting animals, and there being no actual remedy against the cruelty. There is no way, there is no force, no authority, no power of the society that actually can intervene or does intervene to stop the cruel ones doing the cruelty to the animals. Animals are without any voice.